Hey guys, Idiot here today. I'm going to be showing you how to plate ramen. I cooked a bunch yesterday, it took about 3 hours, and it was too long, too much work to film. I'll try and film another, like a whole recipe later, but today I just wanted to show you at least how to plate it once you have the main ingredients. So right here we have our soup. It's not much of a flavor, it's more of like a thick, like consistency, it just fills you up, it warms you up too. So we gotta heat this thing up. But first, we're gonna scrape out all the fat on the top. So I'm actually gonna take this fat out, and we're gonna try and use it to cook the pork and see if that gives it more flavor. The rest of it, we're going to leave in actually, just to, make the soup have the taste that it does. And we're just gonna scrape out a little bit. All right, that's enough. So now the soup. We are going to heat it up to a boil, and then we'll bring that down to a simmer. Next, we're going to take out our curing eggs, and these cured them for a day. It's not really a brine. It's got sake in it. I use Shaoxing wine, a little mirin, and some soy sauce, all boiled up. Basically, this adds some great flavor to the eggs. These are hard-boiled, you're supposed to soft boil them, but I hard-boiled them because I wanted to cook them a little longer in the actual soup, just to see if we can get some flavor out of that. We're also going to get out our shio right here. This is the flavoring. I didn't have any of the ingredients to make yuzu, which is the aromatic oil, so the oil part I mixed in with this. This is kind of like the taste. So your soup doesn't actually have that much flavor to it. It's just thick and just delicious, but not that much like noticeable flavor. Really, it's just tasting. You're like, wow, what's in there? I mean, it's really creamy and delicious, but not sure what's in there. And then you try this part of it, and this is the flavor. So in here we have a bunch of different things that have all been cooked up: salt, sugar, mirin. There's some rice wine vinegar in here, some soy sauce, a bunch of stuff. I even put a little bit of sesame oil in here. And don't overdo it. Like a drop is all you need, or else it won't ruin the flavor, but it will be very overpowering. And ramen is supposed to have the world in a bowl. It's supposed to have everything in it. It's umami flavor. It's just everything. It's not supposed to just be that sesame oil flavor. So be careful with that. Alright, so here we have some green onions and shiitake mushrooms. You can use the enokitake mushrooms. That's probably more authentic and better, but this is all I have on hand. So, chop off the roots, of course, and we're just going to put this in a little bowl right here, because I like to grow them. And I already have some outside growing like this, but I want to grow some inside. I'm actually starting a collection of herbs inside. Like we have basil there, we got some mint growing there, just a bunch of herbs that I use when I'm cooking, and I just want to have them here because I know it's not that much of a walk, but it does kind of, I'd like to just have them nearby so I don't have to go outside every time I want to get something. So we're going to cut these very specific way, kind of thin and diagonally. I love cutting them this way. I don't know why, but it just makes them taste better and it looks nicer, and I'm pretty sure this is the traditional way to cut them. It's a little bit more authentic that way. And then the mushrooms, just gonna cut them like this. Cut them very thin. You don't need to make it too thin, but like we're trying to mimic the thin mushrooms, the enoki mushrooms that are used in the traditional sense. And we don't have those, so we're trying to make it as small as possible. And these things are very flavorful. They suck up, they're kind of like a sponge, and they just suck up all the liquid, and you bite into them, and it's just like, it just all bursts out like a gusher. Alright, so the soup is simmering. We don't want it to be, boiling. Just simmering. This thing has a ton of stuff in it. I kind of made it just from random things that I found in my house. We got tomatoes from the garden, bunch, like 2 whole onions, some bones, of course. I've got some ribs right here that I grilled, kind of like the ones that were in the other cooking video. I barbecued them, and we just have them in here soaking up for, I boiled this for about 3 hours at kind of a low heat. Carrots, some shiitake mushrooms, some of the actual meat right off the bone, and yeah, here's some extra mushrooms. this thing is just filled. That is a full mushroom right there. So we don't want this too hot, just a little bit hotter than that and it'll be great. So we're gonna bring it down to a simmer, and fat's melting in there, so we're gonna put in a little bit of oil and we're gonna cook up our pork. While we're doing this, we got a boil of water, a pot of water boiling right here. And take a look over here. We are using really cheap noodles, not great noodles. These are literally nongshim, like the Korean spicy noodles, instant ramen. And it's kind of crazy that they decide to make instant ramen when it usually takes like 5.5 hours plus like all the days of curing of the eggs and the meat to boil and braise for like 3 hours. So yeah, we are using cheap noodles. That's all I had. I made this without buying anything. So yeah, it's cool though, because if you make all the other stuff really nice and you do all the levels of work, it actually tastes fine no matter what kind of noodles you're using. I'm sure most people would rather have the authentic, the good noodles, but I'm fine with just having these. Alright, so we're going to turn this on to high just so that we can heat that stuff up. I'm going to grab some canola oil, and not too much since we already got fat in here. And this stuff, it pops like crazy, kind of explodes, so you want to be careful when you're cooking it. Alright, so here's the meat, and basically it was braised, it was boiled for 20 minutes, we took it out and cooled it off with cold water, and then we braised it with some shiitake mushrooms, a bunch of other spices and salt, and then I left it in the fridge so it's easier to cut once it's, you know, kind of cold, and I marinated it with oyster sauce and some hoisin sauce, and it's pretty good. We gotta heat it, so we're gonna just sear it in here for a bit. Alright, that's ready. We're gonna lay down one. Oh, it's not sizzling. Too bad. Two. We'll pick this one. This is a nice big one. Three. There we go. I think there's a bit too much liquid in there for it to sizzle, but you want to keep the meat nice and moist, because that way when you bite into it, it just falls apart. So while that's boiling up, we're going to take a pot and heat up our shio. And we don't need this to be too hot, and it's not much liquid, so it'll cook pretty fast. And this is our flavoring. You want it to be warm, just like the soup. Just put it in there. And it looks like these guys are, oh yeah, looks like they're doing well. Turn them over, see what we got on the other side. Also, just a tip, they're easier to cook with tongs. Let's see what we got. Here's the dangerous part. They pop and explode. Not too grilled up. Not yet. They taste great if they're a little bit sweet too. That's why we put on the hoisin sauce. That's good. So what I'm gonna do with this, it's a little bit too watery. Never waste. We're gonna pour a little bit of this back into the soup. Right there. See? Oh, we lost one in the soup. No worries, it's gonna be in the soup anyways, and the more moist it is, the better. Alright, we don't want it to be watery though, because it's gonna lose its flavor then. There we go. Good sizzle. So the fat here pops like you're hearing that, and that will basically blow oil into your face, so you gotta be careful, that's why we got a lid there. So this is heating up a little bit. I think it's warm enough. I'm gonna leave the lid on, heat it for a few more minutes, and then we're going to just turn off the heat and leave it in there just like that. Yeah, it's gonna be good. Alright, let's see how they're doing in there. Oh yeah, that's good. Oh man, look at that. So good. Okay, I'm gonna leave that on that side, and you know, I think they're pretty much done, so we're gonna turn the heat off and just graze them with the heat that's left. And soup, the shio's done too. It's boiling up, it's condensing, and our water is boiling too. It's almost ready for the noodles. So we're all pretty much set here. I'm just gonna leave that to cool down and just fry up like that. And we can put all our ingredients together as soon as the noodles are boiled. Alright, the water's boiling pretty hard, so I'm gonna throw our 2 noodles in, slide them in just like that, one on top. And yeah, that's it. Just wait until those boil, then we can assemble the masterpiece. So also while that cooks, I want my eggs to warm up, don't want them to be cold. So I'm gonna just throw it right into the soup. It's gonna be fun to try and find that once it's done. And of course we gotta cut it open, so leave that in there for like basically until the noodles are done, and then we'll take it out and cut it up. So I usually check whether the noodles are done or not by taste, but basically when they become kind of strandy like that, stretching across, and the water kind of bubbles on the sides and they're just rising to the top, that means they're getting pretty close to done. So we're gonna pull the egg out. Wherever it is, here it is. That wasn't too hard to find. Just gotta clean it up. So notice how this egg is brown? You want it to be like that. That means it's been curing for a while, and it's very juicy. So I'm not sure. Oh, that's perfect. I love it when it's supposed to be soft boiled. That's a little bit under soft boiled, I gotta say, but I love it when it's juicy like that. You could totally have it when it's not like that, but that's great. And also make sure you cut it sideways so that it's easier to eat when it's in that shape. Just looks better too. It also looks larger. I don't really have much of a strainer, so we're just gonna strain them through this. Get all that water out. All the water. You wanna actually like grab some of the noodles and shake them so that the water just comes completely out, because any water in there is going to dilute your soup. It's just going to make your soup taste worse, and you don't want that. So you want to shake it like crazy, and we're just going to use about that much. Save the rest for later. Okay, so you can pour your soup first, but I like to pour the noodles first just so I know how much there's going to be. And it's kind of going to start to be sticky if you're using cheap noodles like I'm using, so you're going to want to get that over and put your soup in pretty fast. Okay, let's put the soup in. Ooh, that thing is hot. And we're going to want to strain this. So we'll get this back here. Unless you want to get, pieces of food in your soup, that's fine. Like, I'm sure it tastes pretty good, but I would rather just eat the noodles. So we pour it in till it's just a bit over. You can still see the noodles, but the soup is technically on top. We want to be able to see the noodles. We want to see all that hard work. Well, we didn't make the noodles. Next, we're going to put in just a little bit of our shio. Not too much. Just enough to give it some delicious flavor. That stuff is very strong. Very strong. And now let's put in all the sides. So we'll put the pork first since it's the largest, and it's delicious. Like, this stuff is so good, and boy is it hot too. Once it soaks up all that sauce there, all the soup, it's just gonna be so good, and it's very rich. I'll tell you, like, this stuff is strong. You can't eat too much of it. It's the most filling part. Now, next part is the egg, and usually it only comes with 1 egg. But since I'm making this at home and I'm really hungry, we're gonna put 2 of them. These things are really membrane-y. They're pretty liquid, but they're loaded with flavor since they've been, cooking for, well, not cooking. They've been kind of brining and curing for a whole day. I'll put some green onions on the side. You can put them in the center so they're easier to mix, but we're just putting them here so it's, nicer. And then we'll put some of the mushrooms just right here. There. And then if you want a little bit of extra flavor, you don't have to do this. I don't think the traditional one even calls for this. I like to put sesame seeds because it looks cool and it tastes good. We'll put a little bit on the side, and then we'll just sprinkle some right here on the green onions and the egg. And that's it. That's how I plate it. Go get some chopsticks. Here's some. There you go. That's how I plate my ramen. Doesn't matter if it's just that instant stuff, even if you don't have like 5 hours to cook all the broths and the shio and all the sides and stuff, you could just hard boil an egg real quick, chop up some green onions, put some sort of meat, and these shiitake mushrooms, they don't take long. So you know, just doing a few extra steps to make it taste better.